Hi, I'm Jon Isaac.
I'm Ursula Wake, and this is Lyrical Wax.
And we're going to be talking about Akinwade Wole Soyinka.
Better known as
Wole Soyinka. He was born on the 13th of July 1934 in Nigeria, and he is the only sub-Saharan writer to have received the Nobel Prize for literature. And very justifiably so, a playwright and poet and political activist, a man who, during the Biafran crisis, was actually put in prison for saying nice things about Biafrans who were being exterminated in Nigeria. So he spent time in prison, in solitary confinement, in exile. We've already read one of his poems, Telephone Conversation,
yes,
which is I read at school and always stayed with me. And it was one of the things, I was probably about 15, and it really struck me, the statement about racism in my country, which is a horrifying thing and a bad thing and wrong.
of course.
And if you are a racist, stop it. So we've said that. I think we will go on to, I went in preparation for this, because I do everything at the last minute. 2 days ago, got this. Oh no! Don't tell the children. I found half a dozen of his poems on every site that was about him, the same half dozen, and thought I'd want a bit more. It's not quite enough, so I bought this lovely book called Adanre, and it has just one review on Amazon. That would be the UK Amazon, which says, "Great writer, bad poet."
We don't agree.
We really don't agree. So this is one section from the long piece of work called Adanre, which we've discovered is the name of a town in Nigeria. And we weren't quite sure. And this is the sixth part, and it's called Procession. I walked upon a deserted night before the gathering of harvest, companion at a god's pre-banquet. The hills of Adanre beckoned me, as who would yield her secrets, locked in sepulchral granite. Sightless eyes prayed haste upon his slow descent, incurious to behold the claws of day rip wide the weakened shutters of a mind divine. Who knows from what savage tumours floods a god's remorse? A child averts his eye from an elder's nakedness. Pursued by blood in his lone descent, the silence said, "Go your way, and if our dead pass you on your way, smooth their path to where is home." He who had sought heights inaccessible to safeguard the vital flint, heard not voices whom the hour of death had made all one, nor futile flight, but the assertive act of Atunda, and he was shamed in recognition of the grim particular. It will be time enough, and space, when we are dead, to be a spoonful of the protoplasmic broth, cold in wind tunnels, lava flow of netherworlds, deaf to thunder, blind to light, comatose in one omnisentient cauldron. Time enough to abdicate to astral tidiness, the all-in-one, superior annihilation of the poet's diversity. Oh, how his words condemn him who declared a fragrance in the stars, plunged to the mind's abyss in contemplation of a desert well. I shall remain in knowledge of myself as Adanre's bold concretion at the night wear its anonymity, not dissolution. For who will stand beside the god? Who welcome rain? Who celebrate Adanre, iterate carbuncle of night? Who, inhesion of disparate senses, of matter thought, entities and motions, who sleepwalk incensed in nirvana, a code of passage, and the night, who, cloyed, a mote in homogeneous gel, touch the living and the dead? Rather, May we celebrate the stray electron, defiant of patterns, celebrate the splitting of the gods' canonization of the strong hand of a slave who set the rock in revolution, and the boulder cannot up the hill in time's unwind. You who have borne the first separation, bide you severed still. He who guards the creative flint walks purged spirit, contemptuous of womb yearnings. He shall teach us to ignite our several kilns and glory in each bronzed emergence. All hail, Saint Atunda, first revolutionary, grand iconoclast at Genesis, and the rest in logic, Zeus, Osiris, Yahweh, Christ in trifoliate pact with creation, and the wisdom of Orunmila, Ifa, divining eyes, multiform. Evolution of the self-devouring snake to spatial's new in symbol, banked loop of the Mobius strip, and interlock of recreative rings, one surface, yet full comb of angles, uniplane, yet sensuous, with complexities of mind and motion.
Thanks for that.
It's quite a ride, isn't it?
It is. We found that Jon and I both feel that with Soyinka's poetry, it's fantastic poetry to go through and let it wash over you for the sounds and the words and some of the really striking images and what have you. And then it bears a lot of revisiting. But so sometimes that might make some things sound a bit complex at first hearing. But then because it bears so much repeating and you can revisit and find all sorts of things and see new things, hear new things in the rhythms, in the language, in the content, that's what makes it such good poetry.
And the same is true for painting, the difference between a poster and a Rembrandt. With Rembrandt, and I speak from experience, you can keep going back for 50 years and still find more depth, more to see. And with a good poem, it will attract you in the first place. But it will you can keep mining it, you can keep finding more within it.
Yeah, definitely. So the first one that I'm going to read is called Night. Your hand is heavy, night, upon my brow. I bear no heart mercuric like the clouds to dare. Exacerbation from your subtle plough. Woman as a clam on the sea's crescent. I saw your jealous eye quench the sea's fluorescence, dance on the pulse incessant of the waves, and I stood drained, submitting like the sands, blood and brine coursing to the roots. Night, you rained serrated shadows through dank leaves, till, bathed in warm suffusion of your dappled cells, sensations pained me, faceless, silent as night thieves. Hide me now, when night children haunt the earth, I must hear none. These misted cells will yet undo me, naked, unbidden, at night's muted birth. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
These are good, no doubt about it. I've realised actually that the printout that I have from the wonderful internet here has various interesting typos in it, and I have the poem in the book here.
For the next one that you're going to read, is that?
Yeah, and I will say that in looking for poems, I found, I think, 6 websites, which quite evidently 4 of them had stolen from one of the others, because the same typographic errors, the word trayings, for example, rather than trainings, existed in them all. So on the internet, this is called Dedication from Moremi, and in the book we find the poem is actually called Dedication, and it is for Moremi. So I'm going to put aside the printout,
Yes.
keep my spectacles on.
Very wise.
And this is Dedication. It's for Moremi. It was written in 1963, which is the same year as Telephone Conversation, which we read before. Dedication for Moremi, 1963. Earth will not share the rafter's envy, dung floors break, not the gecko's slight skin, but its fall. Taste this soil for death, and plumb her deep for life. As this yam, wholly earthed, yet a living tuber, to the warmth of waters, earthed as springs, as roots of baobab, as the hearth, the air will not deny you. Like a top, spin you on the navel of the storm, for the hoe that roots the forest ploughs a path for squirrels. Be ageless as dark peat, but only that rain's fingers, not the feet of men, may wash you over. Long where the sun's shadow run naked to the night, peppers, green and red, child, your tongue arch to scorpion tail, spit straight return to dangerous threats, yet coo with the brown pigeon, tendril dew between your lips. Shield you like the flesh of palms skyward held, cuspids in thorn nesting, insealed as the heart of kernel. A woman's flesh is oil, child, palm oil on your tongue. Is suppleness to life and wine of this gourd from self-same timeless run of runnels as refill your podlings, child, weaned from yours we embrace earth's honeyed milk, wine of the only rib. Now, roll your tongue in honey till your cheeks are swarming honeycombs. Your world needs sweetening, child, camwood round the heart, chalk for flight of blemish. See, it dawns, antimony beneath armpits like a goddess, and leave this taste long on your lips of salt, that you may seek none from tears. This rainwater is the gift of gods. Drink of its purity, bear fruits in season. Fruits then to your lips, haste to repay the debt of birth. Yield man-tides like the sea, and ebbing, leave a meaning on the fossiled sands.
Beautiful, that one.
And for those who are fascinated by the idea, camwood is a tree that the red fibre of which is used to make a dye.
Oh,
So,
right.
camwood round the heart, chalk for flight of blemish. So a colour is made from it.
Thank you.
Lovely.
So this next one is quite different in tone and content. Hanging Day. A hollow earth echoes footsteps of the grave procession. Walls in sunspots lean to shadow of the shortening morn. Behind an eye patch lushly blue, the wall of prayer has taken refuge in a piece of blindness, closed, its grey recessive deeps, fretful limbs, and glances that would sometimes conjure up a drawbridge, raised but never lowered, between their gathering and my sway. Withdraw, as all a living world belie their absence in a field of eyes, barred and secret in the empty home. Of shuttered windows, I know the heart has journeyed far from present. Tread, drop, dread drop, dead. What may I tell you? What reveal? I who before them peered unseen, who stood one-legged on the untrodden verge lest I should not return. That I received them, that I wheeled above and flew beneath them, and brought him on his way, and came to mine, even to the edge of the unspeakable encirclement. What may I tell you of the 5 bell-ringers on the ropes to chimes? Of silence, what tell you of rigours of the law? From watchtowers on stunned walls, raised to stay a siege of darkness, what whisper to their football thunders, vanishing to shrouds of sunlight? Let not man speak of justice, guilt far away, blood-stained in their tens of thousands, hands that damned. These wretches to the pit triumph, but here, alone, the solitary deed. It's a really interesting take on, so having part of the poem written from the point of view of the person being hanged. It's an unusual and very striking and effective point of view.
I started writing when I was a kid. I was 13, and I pretty soon realised that, while I had a facility for words and expressing things, I didn't have anything to say. And Soyinka
not many 13-year-olds do we, when we're 13?
Probably Johnny Keats, but not that many. Or Chatterton, who was 19 when he died. But I didn't. School's horrible. I hate it. That's one of my... I just... And Soyinka is somebody who has had such a life and so many experiences. And I think it is important that I think we've come to an idea of poetry that with many poets, it's about how they feel. It's kind of expressionism about how miserable they are or what have you. And so to have somebody who has such an experience of the world and such an empathy, that he was willing to stand up, he was willing to be imprisoned and risk his life to stand up for his fellows. So when he's writing about something, he's not, reading The Guardian and saying, oh, that's terrible, I'll write a poem about it. He's actually been there and experienced the drop dread of people being killed by the state, murdered by the state. Happy Days. This poem is called I Think It Rains. I think it rains that tongues may loosen from the parch, uncleaved rooftops of the mouth hang heavy with knowledge. I saw it raise the sudden cloud from ashes, settling. They joined in a ring of grey within the circling spirit. Oh, it must rain. These closures on the mind blinding us in strange despairs, teaching purity of sadness. And how it beats, skeined transparencies on wings of our desires, searing dark longings in cruel baptisms, rain reeds, practised in the grace of yielding yet unbending. From afar this, your conjugation with my earth, bears crouching rocks. Now, there is no such word as crouching, because I looked and looked and looked, but that is the word that's in the poem. Whether it was crouching rocks or crunching rocks, or he decided to squash the two ideas into a portmanteau word, we don't know. I think it probably should be crouching, personally, but we'll write to him and ask him. Dear Wole, this is a bit confusing because on one of the sites on the internet it said, this poem is obviously about smoking. And so I reread it and went, I don't understand this. And then I found the poem about smoking that the person was commenting on. Okay.
There's a lesson for us all. If you're going to research something, don't base it on people's comments.
Yeah, and check Wikipedia, because sometimes the people writing it are the people it's about, or the enemies of the people it's about, in my own case.
As well, yeah. This next one is called In the Small Hours.
This is actually the poem about smoking.
In the small hours. Blue diaphane, tobacco smoke, serpentine on wet film and wood glaze. Mutes chrome, wreathes velvet drapes, dims the cave of mirrors. Ghost fingers comb seaweed hair, stroke aquamarine veins of marooned mariners, captives of Circe's sultry notes. The barman dispenses igneous potions. Somnambulist, the band plays on. Cocktail mixer, silvery fish, dances for limpid clients. Applause is steeped in lassitude, tangled in webs of lovers' whispers and artful eyelash of the androgynous. The hovering notes caress the night, mellowed deep indigo, still they play. Departures linger, absences do not deplete the tavern. They hang over the haze as exhalations from receded shores. Soon night repossesses the silence, but till dawn the notes hold sway, smoky epiphanies, possessive of the hours. This music's plaint forgives, redeems the deafness of the world. Night turns homewards, sheathed in notes of solace, pleats the broken silence of the heart. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yes, that's my new favourite poem about the small hours.
And fags.
Yeah, and bars and that empty, as they empty, that lovely thing that absences, hang on, let me just get this, absences do not deplete the tavern. So as people go, the smoke stays. And somehow, yeah, it's still busy. Yeah, I love that.
It's got that kind of Toulouse-Lautrec sort of feel to it.
Alphonse Mucha as well.
Yes. Yeah. Here we are with Civilian and Soldier, which is in fact what it's about. And if you want to see, the neopoet.com is the place that actually has this accurately rendered. The other 5 sites I found it on have the word traying instead of training. Civilian and Soldier. My apparition rose from the fall of lead, declared, "I'm a civilian." It only served to aggravate your fright. For how could I have risen a being of this world in that hour of impartial death? And I thought also, nor is your quarrel of this world. You stood still for both eternities, and oh, I heard the lesson of your training sessions cautioning, scorch earth behind you, do not leave a dubious neutral to the rear. Reiteration of my civilian quandary, burrowing earth from the lead festival of your more eager friends, worked the worse on your confusion, and when you brought the gun to bear on me, and death twitched me gently in the eye, your plight, and all of you, came clear to me. I hope some day, intent upon my trade of living, to be checked in stride by your apparition in a trench, signalling, I am a soldier. No hesitation then, but I shall shoot you, clean and fair, with meat and bread, a gourd of wine, a bunch of breasts from either arm, and that lone question, do you, friend, even now, know what it is all about?
Good ending.
Yeah.
True of soldiers the world over in so many situations. What is it actually? They're fulfilling their duty, but what actually is it all about?
And this idea that they must kill everyone in their path, when during the Korean War there were thousands of refugees trying to flee the north into the south, and Allied troops had orders to just kill them all. Is it any wonder that the Koreans were a bit upset?
Absolutely. The last one that we're going to have is called Abiku. So Abiku, I'll read what it says on Wikipedia, even though we've given warnings about Wikipedia.
Do check it. Yeah.
We're,
go and look up a Yoruba encyclopedia.
Yeah. So Abiku is a Yoruba word. It can be translated as predestined to death. And it refers to the spirits of children who die before reaching puberty. So a child who dies before 12 years old is called an Abiku, and the spirit or spirits who caused the death are also called Abiku. Not only is Abiku a spirit of a child who dies young, the belief is that the spirit returns to the same mother multiple times to be reborn multiple times. It's the belief that the spirit does not ever plan to stay put in life. So hence the predestined to death. It's not going to stay there, so it's indifferent to the plights of its mother and her grief. The spirits themselves are believed to live in trees, especially the iroko, baobab, and silk cotton. So it's a very interesting and sad, immensely sad thing to have a word for. And
it's a sort of cultural explanation as well to perhaps try and comfort mothers who lose children.
They weren't destined to
because
live long.
they'll come back. They'll keep coming back to you. So it will be the same spirit in new flesh.
But I suppose I've interpreted it as they will be reborn and die again as well. But they're not destined to stay put. But we don't know. We don't know enough about that culture.
No, we don't, and we should know more probably. But what we know about is Boko Haram at the moment is about what we know about Nigeria and Shell Oil.
Yeah. If we find anything, we'll add it later to the description for that.
I think we'll probably come back to him because he is more significant than I realised, no doubt. You know, he is one of the greats.
Abiku. In vain your bangles cast charmed circles at my feet. I am Abiku, calling for the first time and repeated time. Must I weep for goats and cowries, for palm oil and sprinkled ash? Yams do not sprout in amulets to earth Abiku's limbs. So when the snail is burnt in his shell, wet the heated fragment, brand me deeply on the breast. You must know him when Abiku calls again. I am the squirrel teeth, cracked the riddle of the palm. Remember this, and dig me deeper still into the god's swollen foot. Once and the repeated time ageless, though I puke, and when you pour libations, each finger points me near the way I came, where the ground is wet with morning, white dew suckles flesh birds, evening befriends the spider, trapping flies in wine froth. Night, and Abiku sucks the oil from lamps. Mothers, I'll be the suppliant snake coiled on the doorstep, yours the killing cry. The ripest fruit was saddest where I crept, the warmth was cloying. In silence of webs, Abiku moans, shaping mounds from the yolk.
So perhaps, you know, one final point, which is the beauty of this culture, which is not really, you know, we maybe know about the Benin bronzes, which are really astonishing. And there was a view at the time when Europeans first saw the Benin bronzes that they must have been made by white people because the sophistication is so incredible. And we've gradually found that there were black civilizations, black cultures. There was even there were black pharaohs in South Egypt. But to get some sense of that beauty, I would definitely recommend, if you haven't seen it, Michel Ocelot's film Kirikou, which is an animated film, but it has all the colour of Africa. It sort of gives you that red earth sort of sensation, and you realise that, you know, this is a culture, this is a civilization, this is we see it now post-colonial. We see it after the flood and trying to rebuild itself from the horrific damage that was performed by European colonialists.
So that was our visit to Wole Soyinka.
Yeah, and we'd like to thank him very much for providing some material. And we'd like to thank you very much for taking your time with us, spending your time with us. Goodbye.
Bye.